Good morning, fellow traders. It's Black Coffee Trader. It is Wednesday, July the 9th. Time to do our daily trade plan. I'm running a little bit later than I normally like to be in the morning, so we'll try to get through this without being too late. So yesterday, very much a sideways day, and I think the big thing I'm seeing if I look across the markets, NASDAQ, ES, the Dow Jones as well, the Russell, it feels like we are definitely in a sideways kind of patient anticipatory, it just feels that's that way in the markets. I think everything's waiting until FOMC this afternoon, and what happens? Do we get any major news? Are there any rate cuts on the horizon? I've not paid that much attention to what people are saying. I know there's been talk about maybe several rate cuts happening this year. So I think the FOMC minutes this afternoon are probably going to be pretty big. And it just feels like this market is waiting. And we may not get too much until we get to the 2 o'clock hour this afternoon. So keeping that in perspective, let's take a look at what we see or what I'm seeing in the markets this morning. I made a couple of adjustments to some of these levels. Most notably, I had this area right here. I had this, I think I had it around the 22,880s. And I moved this level up, and I should almost color this entire thing green. This really section from the 915s to the 910s, 900s, I should say, 915s to 900s. Is really, I think, the area. When you look at this, it becomes really, really messy, choppy, and I had a couple, I think I might have even had an extra level in here or so, but I've taken some out and just kind of readjusted this, because I think this is where the big area comes in. We see some reactions. If you look at yesterday and in the overnight session, I mean, yesterday very much a choppy sideways day. It was ugly price action yesterday, but in the overnight session, we have held pretty much below this 900 area, and we see some reactions coming in here in the overnight session on Monday night. That was. We've also got some reactions here over the holiday weekend. So you see that holding, and we flip below it, and now we're back above it. So I think that is the area we really want to watch on the NASDAQ. Does this continue do we get a pullback here and push higher? That's why I put a couple of green arrows here. I'm looking for a pullback to this area, and really anything in this area, if we can pull back and hold, that could set up a nice long. Again, looking for high of days. I always like to look at that high of day typically, especially if we're not at an all-time high. That's a good spot to get a break and retest to the upside. And then on the downside, I really don't think it makes much sense to short anything in here until we get below yesterday's lows. We're going to see this little double bottom forming, and you've got some other reactions coming in that area back here. So I think if we get something below yesterday's low, that could set up a short. And then if we get below this 22, we'll call it 22,800 and then 22,780s, if we get below that area, that could set up a nice short to the downside as well. One thing to keep in mind, I did not mark it because there's nothing here recently that's been very big. But there is something to keep in mind right here on these highs that came in February of 2025 this year. You could put some levels right here around the 660s. You could put a level right here on these highs around the 730s. So if you look at the 660 to the 730s, there's a little bit here in the 720 area, maybe right there around the 728s. I mean, I could see a reason to put a level there. So if we get a move down, as a matter of fact, maybe I should just do it now, since I know that's something I might want to look for just because of those recent highs. I think that's something to just pay attention to if we do get a reaction. Now this thing's frozen up on me here, so we'll have to be a little bit patient. And we lost a whole ball of wax there. This was right here around the 780s, getting these reactions, and we'll put this level, I think we'll put it right there, right around the 728s, 725s. So if we get a move to that, that's something to just pay attention to because of that bigger area that we had right in here. Also, and I'll talk more about it on the ES. It's pretty clear on the ES, but notice this bright green line here that I've got around the 22,200s. We really have a gap, and it's more pronounced on the ES, but there's been a gap up here. Let me zoom in here on the daily. I know it's a bit difficult to see on the daily chart because of all my levels that I've got drawn, but you have this previous area right here, this previous high sitting here on the 22. Looks like the 2230s maybe, but this has really been a gap up on the daily chart, and we could see that gap fill and you get a pullback and a break to the upside again. That could be a really nice long setup on the big picture play. So it's something to keep in mind that, we might see a pullback here to kind of reset and refuel. But the short-term picture today is, do we get a pullback here, and does this reactionary area around this 915, 900, does that stay? Do we get a pullback long? Do we get a pullback or a break and retest above the high of day from yesterday, which has got some interesting reactions there, kind of in that area around the 22,965s as well. And then obviously if we fall below, we're looking for shorts to the downside on some of these areas. So that's the watch on the NASDAQ. Again, not looking for a whole lot. I'm going to be very picky on if we take trades, and really have to be very selective on these areas. Yes, the 6270 I think is just really still a big watch. I also don't like shorting, but until we get below the low of days from yesterday, which kind of gets us into this area, this 6260s. If we get something below that, that could set up some shorts, and we have several. This one here I really like as well. You've got some reactions here around the 6250s. Got some reactions here. If we get below that, that could set up a break and retest short, and then you obviously just play the levels to the downside, and again to the upside. We're really looking for the high of day to break from yesterday. If we get a break and retest above that, that could set up a nice long up into these next levels, and then obviously pushing into the all-time highs. But 6270 still a big watch on ES. I do think that needs to hold for further upside, but in the short term, we could see this thing, break and push back to the downside. I talked about talking about this gap fill. You can see it pretty clearly here on the ES. We have this high coming in. This level I had marked out, the 6100s, and you have a big gap up that has not been filled, and so that is definitely something that we could see a pullback here for that. Also, here's the 6270 area that you see right here. This lines up with these previous highs. Quite a bit of reactions around the 6270, which is why I think that's pretty clean and pretty clear level to watch. So again, looking for that to hold. Do we get a pullback, and do we get a push to the upside here today, this morning, before FOMC, or will that all happen after FOMC? So that's the watch. And again, I think I should have paid a little bit more attention to what I was doing this morning, but I think I might have cleaned some of this up as well. Just really trying to look for where's the key level to take trades off of, and that's what I'm looking for. Obviously, my strategy is break and retest. If we break and retest a level, we take that to the upside or the downside, or whatever that move happens to occur. Right now, I mean, it would look like we are getting in the pre-market here. You're getting a break of this high of day from yesterday in this 6290 area, and possibly getting a retest, a rejection short. I am cautious about shorting into yesterday's move, and I'll tell you why. If you even go back to the NASDAQ, it feels like we are having a very tough time breaking down below to the downside. This market feels like it wants to hold up, and for that reason, I don't think it's wise to short into the yesterday's, basically into yesterday's price action, and really almost for the last couple of days price action. If you go back on the NASDAQ, the high of day from Monday is really sitting right here, just a little bit above yesterday's highs, and the low of day from Monday is this low from right in here. And so you really have this range, and I think shorting into that is just, for me, I don't feel like that's a wise move. I think this market is not, we are trying to hold above some of these areas, and I think we're seeing the same thing on the ES. If you look at Monday's highs, those are coming in right here around Monday's open, and we've fallen down. Obviously, the low for Monday is sitting down here around the 6250s, 6240s. So outside of really the open, we're pretty much sitting in this range from the 6290s to the 6250s, about a 50-point range here, a 40-point range here on ES. And so it just feels like we're not allowing this market to break below. And so for that reason, I don't really want to short from these highs until we get below some of these lows. If we can get below some of these lows and really, maybe the better play would be to really wait until we get to the Monday low, the 6245s. I might actually just move that down. I may not take that until we get down below that. But anyway, you can kind of see that. And for that reason, that's why I'm looking for longs. if we're up here, and definitely not looking to short until we fall to some of these lower levels and really see this support area break. Dow Jones, things are pretty clean on the Dow. I mean, you've got to move to the upside. We held above this this big area I've been talking about for feels like a good week or so, the 44,660s. We fell below that, and it looks like we might have a break and retest short set up. And this is pretty clean. Again, looking for something to the upside. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to take a break and retest of the 44,660s. I might wait until we get above the high of day to really see this thing push back up. If we do get a rejection play here, that is something I do want to take. I just think that is such a big and clear level that goes back on the daily chart. We talked about this before. A lot of support. We flipped that, and now we finally we went above it. We dipped below it, and so is this a little liquidity grab that we're seeing right here? Is that all that is, and we're going to break and retest and continue to go higher, or is it going to fill kind of this little gap that we've created on the Dow Jones and pull back to the daily 20? That is a play that could happen. Here's the daily 20, the daily 200 sitting down here around the 43,500. So we could see a move to the downside there. Obviously, if that happens, we want to capitalize. If we get a break and retest below this, really this is almost setting up now, but it probably won't wait for us until market open. But if you get a retest of this area to the downside, that would be a trade to take. Being careful, probably something to take profits as we get into the 4400s if that setup occurs, and if you get below the 44,400s, gosh, right there's a 444s. There's an interesting one, but yeah, if we get below there, that could set up some downside trade opportunities there as well. So pretty clear on the the Dow Jones. We're still looking for this 44,660. That has definitely kind of been in play for a little while here. Russell. Things are very sideways on the Russell. We've had a pretty good move to the upside on the Russell, but we have definitely went quite sideways, and I cleaned out quite a few levels here on the Russell. I'm not looking to trade a whole lot really until we really get below the low of day from yesterday, which really puts us into some of these low reaction areas here. If we get a setup below there into the daily 200, that is a cautious short, but that could set up a short. And if we get something, a break and retest above the high of day from yesterday, which lines up pretty closely with the high of day from Monday as well. And if we see that, obviously we'll look to take longs, but really, we got to be outside of yesterday's range on the Russell for me to take a trade, either to the upside on the high area and to the downside if we break the lows. So that is the plan today. That's how I'm attacking this thing, and really trying to be cautious. We may not get much until news, and that is okay. We'll see if something sets up here in the afternoon, and if something sets up in the morning, we've got several levels here that we can watch and make some sense to trade off of. So that is the plan today. Good luck out there. Hope you have a good day today, and we'll catch up with you on tomorrow's morning trade plan. Take care, and so long.